Hi, we're going to go ahead and start. Thanks everyone for joining us for today's webinar on Dapresy StoryCreator. I'm Larissa Nahanovic, the VP of Marketing here at Dapresy. We're very excited to go over the different features which will help you to create native PowerPoints using our new tool, Dapresy StoryCreator. Before we start, I'm just going to go over three things. That's today's webinar, the upcoming webinar, and our follow-up email, which you can expect. Regarding today's webinar, we have Riley Minard, a Senior Account Manager at our North America office, as the host. She's been working with testing and presenting the tool, so she has a very good understanding of it. Also joining us is Alexander Skorka, our Chief Product Officer. He's going to be here during the Q&A, well, actually throughout the whole webinar, but he'll be there during the Q&A portion to answer any additional technical questions you may have. And then regarding the Q&As, please send any questions that you have in the Q&A section, which is found at the bottom bar of the webinar today, and then we'll, during the last 10 minutes, go over your questions. And if you happen to have any other questions afterwards, feel free to send them to us by responding to any of the newsletters you've received or by reaching out to your CSM. Regarding upcoming webinars, we're planning another webinar in a few weeks where we're going to go a bit deeper into story creators. So we're going to go over a bit more of the advanced features. If you do have any questions as you're testing out the features and functions that Riley goes over today in the upcoming weeks, please send these questions to us just so we're sure to allocate enough time to go over everything you are all interested in going over. And regarding the follow-up email, you can expect a recording of today's webinar, so you can have that on hand to refer to or to send to colleagues. And we'll also send you a brief survey because we really like to know and hear your feedback. And that's that. Riley, you can go ahead and start.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the intro, Larissa. As mentioned, StoryCreator is Dapresy's new PowerPoint production tool designed specifically to meet the needs of the market research industry. This tool allows market researchers and analysts to create decks in record time by pairing the data functionalities of Dapresy with the user intuitiveness of PowerPoint. This tool supports market research specific calculations such as stat testing, indexes, top and bottom boxes, the ability to work with weighted and unweighted data, etc. Additionally, this tool is run off the raw data, meaning there's no need for aggregations to be done outside of the Dapresy system. This tool also allows you to export into native PowerPoint format, meaning all of your charts and tables, once in PowerPoint, will be editable. Additionally, these decks can be created and saved for online access, and when a deck is created and saved, the decks update with new data anytime new data is loaded into a project. So I'm really excited to show it to you guys today. I'm just going to stop sharing my video so I can then share my screen instead. And now I'll just show you the overall interface of the tool. So as you can see, the interface mimics that of PowerPoint, where we have one slide here and we can choose what object should populate. We have the ability to add charts, tables, and text boxes. And you can also see that within this slide, I have uploaded a PowerPoint template, so I can build alongside this PowerPoint template online. If I start off just by adding a chart, I'll click the chart icon, and then the first thing I'll do is navigate up to my questions tab, where I will choose a variable that will populate this chart. So here you can see all of the supported categorical calculations and all of the supported numeric calculations as well. I'll keep it simple and we'll look at a percent share. This is a list of all of the variables. It's a scrollable list. This is also searchable. So if you want to search your consideration questions, for example, you can search keywords here. And you can also filter by question block. So additionally, if you want to filter down by brand consideration, you can just select the brand consideration question block. So all I need to do is just select a variable, choose the answers I want to report on, and just within a couple of clicks, you can see that I have a pretty simple bar chart generated. The next tab along the top here, as you can see, is called Filters and Splits. And this is where you can apply, of course, a filter. For example, if I want to filter this chart by females, I can go to my gender filter, select female, and when I click filter, my chart's now filtered to the female respondents, and you can also see that filter information communicated along the bottom. We also have the ability to run splits. A split meaning I'll see an individual comparison point per filter selection I have enabled here. So if I choose male and female and then choose to run a split, when I recalculate, you'll see that I now have an individual data point, one for male and one for female. The last tab over here is time selections. So I'll just look at Dapresy Telecom for this example. And the time selection works very similar to that of the storyteller, where you can choose the interval that you want to report on, whether that's, quarter, months, weeks. If I choose weeks, for example, as soon as I have an interval selected, you also see we have the ability to support moving averages. So I'm now going to be reporting on weeks, so maybe I want to change my chart type. Below these three main tabs along the top, you can see all of the supported chart types that this tool offers, and I can click into each one and see additional options. Since, again, I am trending this data, maybe I want to visualize this in a line chart. I click line chart, and automatically I have my chart updated, and you can see that I'm trending this data over weeks. Below our chart types here, we have our settings toolbar where you can further customize your charts and tables. So within the toolbar, we have, the most commonly used settings that people use when building charts and tables in PowerPoint. And we made those the most easily accessible within this system. So things like adding data values, choosing to show additional decimal places, you can show base size information, and so on. Another cool feature here is the ability to either enable or disable certain text elements. So for example, you can see that my question text is repeated in my legend, spontaneous brand awareness in mind. If I want to turn that off, all I have to do is go to show text and just disable my question text, and you can see how my legend updates. When we developed this tool, we also developed many user-friendly features that just increase overall efficiency. So for example, we support different slide layouts. If I go to add a new slide in this deck, you can see all of the supported slide layouts. And if I want to add multiple objects to a slide, maybe I want to add 2 objects, all I do is select this layout. I now have 2 slides within my deck, which you can toggle between. And within this second slide, you can see that I have the ability to add multiple objects. When we developed this tool, we also built in what we refer to as smart logic. And smart logic means when it comes to the positioning of items in rows and columns and tables and legends and axes and charts, the tool analyzes the best placement for these elements and automatically places them in positions that make the most sense based on the composition of the object. So this adds a lot of efficiency even to the build of the most complex charts and tables. So just to kind of demonstrate that, if I add a chart on the left side here, navigate back to my questions tab, and first I just look at one variable. I'll look at brand consideration, Dapresy Telecom, and all of my answers. When I click calculate, you'll see that this chart generates, and I have my legend, or my axis is composed of my answers, and my legend is composed of my question. However, if I change this chart and add a couple of variables here, and I recalculate, you'll see that now when my chart generates, my axis is now my question, and my legend is now my answer. If I navigate over to my time periods again, I'll just look at my 5 responses. I'll set an interval here as well. So I'll choose weeks, but you can also see that we have this time period drop down. So by default, this time period is set to full period, meaning we will be reporting on all of the data that's been imported to this project. But I can update this to reflect a more specific time snapshot. For example, if I only want to look at the last 4 weeks of data, I can set this here, and this is of course dynamic. So when a new wave of data comes into this project, this chart will always automatically update to show you the latest 4 weeks of data. And now when I recalculate this, since I have a time period added, you'll see that my time period is now on my axis, and my legend contains both my question and my answer. Again, maybe I want to hide my question here. We can, of course, also explore data in tables along with charts. So just instead of choosing my chart icon, I'll choose table. And now instead of seeing chart types along the top here, you can see that we have different table stylizations. Aside from that, it's the very similar process to populating this table. I'll go to my questions tab, I'll choose a variable, choose some answers, I click calculate and I have a pretty simple table populate. I can of course click through these different table stylizations and see how that changes the look of my table. And that also brings me to some of these additional drop downs along this toolbar. So along with those commonly used called out settings here, you see that we have this format table drop down. This format table drop down is available for both charts and tables. And this is where you can really customize the look and feel of your object. So whether that's changing the colors, the fonts, etc., you can access those settings here and you can really further customize the chart. For example, if I want to change the cell color here, I'll go to the format table dropdown, select cell color, and maybe I want this to be blue. And really I can customize how this displays. Another cool feature that we added is the ability to just fit an object to the allotted space. So this table, for example, if I want it to fit this entire space, all I need to do is right click, go to row height and column width, and I'll turn on this button to use the full object height. And now my table fits this entire space. All of the headers that are on these slides are just editable text boxes. So maybe I want this slide to read brand consideration, for example. I can type that there and it automatically saves. Another user-friendly feature that we added is just the ability to duplicate slides. So I have a couple slides built out over here. If I want to copy this first one, I'll just right-click, duplicate my slide, and you see that I have an exact copy of this slide now. I can drag and drop and reorder these as well. And from here, I can make any kind of small tweak. So maybe instead of a line chart, I want to show this in a column chart. As mentioned in the tables, we have this format chart dropdown available here as well. And again, this is where you can customize the look and feel. So the fonts, the colors, the placement of your legends. We have all questions and answers predefined with colors either matching corporate guidelines or specific color scales, meaning we don't have to fiddle with the colors in every single chart. If you do want to change the colors, you can just navigate to this format chart dropdown and click Siri Settings. You'll see that by default, this smart coloring is on, but maybe I want to turn this off and instead pull from my color template. So this is where you can further customize the colors in your chart. We also have Siri Settings, which is a dropdown available in tables and charts, which are more of your data-driven options, such as hiding empty series, any kind of base size suppression rules, sorting rules, etc. From here, I can change my slide layout again, so I don't have to, add a new slide and start from scratch with a new layout. Maybe I decide I want to add another chart here. I can just go to my slide layout, choose a new design. You see that my chart automatically resizes to fit this new space. And we even support copy and paste within slides. So I can copy this chart, paste it below. And maybe in this copied version, I just want to turn off my filters. And instead, I want to apply a benchmark. So the last dropdown that we have here is apply analysis. So when I expand this, you can see that we have the ability to toggle between weighted and unweighted data. We can add benchmarks, we can add significance testing, and we can add mean value series. If I add a benchmark here, it's as simple as selecting the benchmark. This window pops up, and I turn on this button to enable my benchmark calculation. From here, I just fill out the fields that Dapresy asks for. So within calculation, I can choose how I want to run this benchmark, whether it's just a standard unit difference, a percent share, or a conversion rate. And then you choose your comparison point. So in this example, I want to compare against my previous data point, meaning I'll be comparing against the previous wave. When I recalculate here, alongside my data values, you also see the results of my benchmark calculation. Once you have a deck created, you can save it online for future access. This means the next time you log in, you don't have to start from scratch and rebuild this deck. You can just navigate to the left side panel here and save your deck. So for example, I want to save this as October Brand Report 2019. I click Save. That means the next time that I log in, I can just, again, navigate over to the left side panel here, go to Open, and see all of my saved reports. If I open one and need to make another change, for example, I want to add a header here, brand awareness. I'm still working in that same deck. I can just go over here and save, and that save carries over to my October brand report 2019. These decks, once saved, update with new data anytime new data is loaded into a project. Again, so there's no need for manual administration there. Everything automatically updates. Along with accessing these decks online, you can also export them. So again, within this same panel here, I can go to Export, and my export window pops up. Here you can see the different options that we have for exporting. So the first one is the ability to export to PowerPoint, where all of our objects are images. And a really cool new feature that I mentioned earlier is the ability to export into native PowerPoint, meaning all of your charts and tables will actually be editable. So I'll just generate this export first. And while that runs, you can also see that we have the ability to export into Excel and also export into PDF. You'll see that along the top here, I get this green text saying my export's complete. So I'll download this and open it up in PowerPoint. And when you export to PowerPoint, you can see that it exports into a branded PowerPoint template. You can even upload multiple templates to a single project and choose which template your deck should download into. But once in PowerPoint, you can apply any kind of additional formatting or window dressing that is available in just a standard PowerPoint file. I'm sure everyone on this webinar knows PowerPoint, but you can just see if I right click on this chart, maybe I want to visualize this in a stacked column chart. I can change the chart type. I can apply any additional formatting here. And I can also right click and open up this data in Excel. So this opens up an Excel data table where maybe I just want to change my legend text to male and female. You'll see my legend update. And if for any reason you need to actually access or change the data here, this is all editable as well. So maybe 75 should be 50. I make that change, and you can see my data update here in the chart as well. I know that was a relatively brief overview of everything I wanted to cover with this StoryCreator tool. As you can see, the interface is very easy to learn and easy to use, which is, of course, all by design. Our goal is for market researchers and analysts to be able to utilize the user intuitiveness of this interface to efficiently create decks online in Dapresy. But now I can open this up to any kind of questions that people may have. As Larissa mentioned, we also have Alexander here to answer any questions if necessary as well.
Yeah, there was a question of if the functionality is already available. And I think you already answered this.
So of course, you can upload PowerPoint templates to this project through this setup window here. All you do is go to your export formats. This is where you can add any custom templates. You can see that we have a few in this project here. So you can upload them yourself and then choose which template should show not only online here, but also which template should download into PowerPoint. The next question, can you automate your reporting? For example, I need to provide reports for 10 subdivisions, which is normally a filter. That's a great question. So right now, all of the filter functionality that we have in this tool is just on the object level. So you would apply a specific filter selection to one chart, another filter selection to another chart. So there's no global filter functionality that you see in the Storyteller. I know that's been asked a few times, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen in the near future, but it's definitely been discussed. Is it possible to change the decimal in the legend? I mean, if you have 1.0, it'll show 1.0. Yeah, so if I choose to show an additional decimal place in one of these charts, all I do is simply click this button that says increase decimal. And even if that's, 90.0, it'll show 90.0 instead of just 90. So you can choose to increase or decrease your number of decimal places on the object level.
Yeah, well, right. So there is someone who's voting for a global filter.
Alexander, take note.
He's not alone. He's not alone. So
No.
that bill is probably implemented pretty soon.
Right. And then there's a question on how would you recommend to start using this functionality?
That's a great question. I think that's important to discuss. I think there's a couple of really great but very different use cases for this tool. One of them can be more of an internal use case where any kind of analyst on your team can use this tool to create one-off or ad hoc PowerPoint reports. So instead of having to create the full-blown Dapresy dashboard that's full of infographics and customized design, this allows us to create those one-off reports in a more efficient way in a lot less time. So it's a great use case for internal analysts to be able to create those reports for certain clients. The other use case is to treat this tool similar to our cross table. So our cross table can be given to report users or end users to access, and they can treat that tool as a sandbox. So they can create their own data tables and create their own cuts without having to go to you and request those tables. This story creator can be treated in the same way. So instead of a user accessing the cross table tool for tables, they can access story creator and access the charts. So they can create their own charts without having to request them from you. If that's the use case, you can limit essentially all of the functionalities that you see here if you choose to give this tool to your report users. So you can limit the questions that people see. You can limit the types of calculations that they have access to, the types of charts, etc. So you can strip this tool down and set it to be only a limited version if you choose to give it to your end users. So a couple of different use cases depending on what's the best fit for your company. How do we upload/push the data to Dapresy is another question that I see. This story creator is just another module within Dapresy. So similar to the cross table tool, similar to the storyteller, to the document archive, this is just another tab that can be added to a Dapresy project. So along the top here, you could have your storyteller, you could have your cross table, you could have your story creator, etc. So it's the same functionality as your standard Dapresy storyteller. Once your data file is in a project, you just add story creator as a portal tab, and then it's in Dapresy and it's all one cohesive platform. Can each PowerPoint template/document ingest multiple data files? Or is it possible to have multiple sources of data? So just like the dashboard, Dapresy supports multiple sources of data, whether that's respondent level SPSS file alongside an aggregated Excel file. All of those can be uploaded to Dapresy, and then you report on those the same way as you would the dashboard. So everything can be reported on side by side, essentially, but it's on the project level, so not within each PowerPoint report that you create here. It's within the entire project. Any other questions?
I think that's it. Thanks everyone again for joining us today. If you do happen to run across additional questions, feel free to send them to us. We'll be sending you a recording of this webinar, as I mentioned earlier. Oh, we got one more question. Will it be covered in the university story creator?
Yes, so we already have one chapter in the university rolled out. That was for the first version that we released of StoryCreator, but we're already in progress for releasing the second version that will cover the more in-depth features that this rollout included, such as tables, the ability to upload PowerPoint templates, etc. But that will definitely be included in the very near future.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it then. Thanks everyone again for joining. We'll send you the recording of the webinar. And again, if you have any other questions, feel free to send them our way. Thanks, Riley. Oh,
of course, thank you. Oh,
yes, recording available. Yes, yes. Okay. Thanks everyone.
thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.